Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome to episode 2 of the Trading for Retards Bootcamp series, whatever you want to call it. I think I'm going to say whatever you want to call it every single video. Why? I don't know. I just don't know how to make good intros, whatever. Today's video, super simple. Highs and lows slash trends. That's what we're going to be learning today. That's what I think I should be learning right after learning candlesticks. Super simple. Some other might argue that this should be learned in after learning some other concepts. But in my opinion, my experience, and what I think people should go off right after learning candlesticks is highs and lows. And the reason why is that I'm not gonna overcomplicate it, and I'm organizing this series in a way that you guys can watch these videos and understand it a lot better, because that's one pattern that I noticed with a lot of these other videos about trading in these bootcamp series, is that they love to explain these concepts and these strategies to you and all this shit, and they don't explain it in the proper way for you guys to be able to finally apply it to yourself. So I've already planned out what videos I'm going to post after this, like what order I'm going to teach you guys this, and I made it in the most sensical way possible so that, the next video followed by the next, this one might not make sense, but then once you watch the one after that, it's going to make a lot more sense, and finally you'll be able to put it together. And I'm going to be showing you guys videos of me trading, and I'm going to be helping you guys put your own trading together using these concepts. So for today, you guys are going to be learning about highs and lows. Now, let's make quick definitions that you guys can write down. Highs and lows are points slash levels. Well, I mean, I don't really want to say points. We'll say level. We'll say key, or no, fuck it. Important, write this. Important slash key levels in the market that traders use to look for, or no, how to say this? The market that traders use to identify where price could go. It's that simple. They're just key levels in the market. Key level meaning it's a point where traders look to either trade to. Okay, we either decide to take a position to go to that level. Now that's not like every single case. Okay, not every single trade you're gonna take is and has to be going to a high. But for the sake of this video and keeping it simple, just listen up. So it's going to be a point in key level where in the market that traders use to identify where price could go, meaning whether they're going to trade to a high or to a low, or we're going to use a high, why am I doing this? A high or a low to take us somewhere else, to create a reversal potentially, okay? That's simple. A trend, I mean, it's in the definition. A trend is literally just the overall direction of the market. Excuse me, I gotta check this. Okay, check. Overall direction of the market. Now, this does depend on the time frame, but we'll get into that in another video. For now, like I said, just keep it as simple as fucking possible. So, highs and lows. How do we identify a high and a low? Identify it, it's this simple. High is up candle followed by a down. Now, for those of you guys that are a little bit retarded, it's okay. That's why we made this series, Trading for Retards. It is simply a green candle, then red candle, okay? Now, almost every single person in the trading space just calls these up candles or down candles. Like, you rarely say green, red, bullish, bearish. Actually, a lot of people say bullish, bearish. But for the majority of the part, we're going to be saying up candle, down candle. So get familiar with that. Lows, you guys can take a really big wild guess what this is going to be. Down candle followed by an up candle. And for retards, red candle, then green candle. Okay, that's simple. So based off this definition, I'm sure you guys can, understand this really fucking clearly, but we're gonna do it anyway. It's simple. Pretend this is a green candle in the market. We're going up. What do we need to do in order for it to be a high? Well, because say we just continue, okay? Would you say, well, this is a high? Well, how do we know it's a high? We can't know for sure if this forever continuation right here, you can't call this a high. We have no proof it's a high because we don't know if it's either going to keep going up. So that means, no, there would have been no high there, so I was wrong about that. What does there need to be for there to be a high? To make it a high? A low, meaning it needs to go back down. It could go back to any point, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to keep it simple like this. Buff, and then the opposite for a low, buff. That's simple. How do we mark it out? What is this point right here? The low. What is this point right here? the high. It's pretty fucking simple when you use, when we're using terms like high and low, especially in financial markets, because any kind of financial market, you can see highs and lows. Anything that has sort of financial data to it probably has a high, a peak, anything. You can use your synonyms. It's really just context clues, okay? So high and low. Now, we're going to look at this on the market, on the charts. Fucking shit, bro. I got to get back to the United States. I got to get back to my PC. It's going to be way easier to make these videos, but got to bear with me for right now. So let's get this going. Okay, we'll delete this, or yeah, just have that written down if you haven't had it written down, so then you can use it for this video. So with your notes written down, let's look over to the 4-hour time frame. Based off that, definition that we made, I'm going to go to a little bit of a different sort of area here. Be simple. I got to sneeze in a few seconds. I can feel the sneeze coming. Excuse me very well. Anyway, let's keep this dumb fucking simple. I want you guys to tell me where the highs and the lows are in this section right here. So this little section we have right here, where is the high? Tell me how many highs you can spot. I'm gonna spot as many highs as I can. You're gonna tell me how many you can spot. Let's see. Don't mind this, or no, let me move this here because I know you guys can't see from the camera being there. But anyway, how many highs and lows can you mark out? I'm gonna mark them out, then I'm gonna tell you if you guys, I'm gonna count how many there are, then you guys are gonna tell me, or no, I'm gonna tell you if you're right or wrong, based on many. Okay, let's see. Okay, done. I got mine. 10. There are 10 highs marked out on this. Now, if you got the same number, good fucking job. Let's see. Let's mark out the first one here. How does that make a high? Why? Because it is the highest point between two candles, one being an up candle and the other being a down candle. Okay? It is a high. Up candle, down candle, find the highest point. When I say the highest point, I mean the highest point of the wick of both candles. Because you can look at both. Say this wick right here for this green candle extended up here. Well, that means this would be the high. But because that's not true, because we look at both candles, we can take our horizontal ray tool and we can see highest point between the green candle followed by the down candle makes the high. Second high here. Same case scenario. Boom. Green candle, down candle, highest point of them, high. Right here, green candle, down candle, highest point of them, that's our high. Here, green candle, down candle, highest point, high. Green candle, buff, 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 and buff. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 highs. Boom. Now let's do the same exercise for lows. Okay, if you didn't get the one for the highs, you better fucking get the one for the lows, or else I'm gonna think you're stupid. No, I'm kidding. That's a joke. Don't take that seriously. Now, just gonna be looking at this section. Well, I guess right here. Okay, let me circle it out. What I want you guys to be looking for in the highs and lows. The section that I want you guys to be looking for. I'm gonna circle it, so it makes it easier to see. Don't even just worry about whatever's in the box, okay? This little McDonald's logo looking thing, let's get it. I'm gonna see how many highs and lows there are in this circle, and we're gonna see if you're right, okay? Let's go. Okay, ready? 9. I got 9 lows at least, okay? I'm going to explain each low and we're going to see if we're right. First low right here, what do we have? Down candle followed by an up candle. Lowest point of the two, there's 1. Second, down candle, green candle, up candle, boom. Lowest point of the two, low. Don't even worry about this spacing right here. I know this kind of contradicts what we were saying about the first video about the open and closing shit, but don't even worry about that right now, okay? It's not important. What do we have here? Low, up candle, low of the two, boom, that's our low. That's our third low. What do we see? Down candle followed by an up candle, lowest point of the two. 4, down candle followed by an up candle. The next, mark the lowest point. That's 5, 6 right here, 7, 8, 9, and I got 9 of them. Perfect. Okay, so that's each high and that's low. So hopefully you guys are not fucking retards anymore, and you can spot out highs and lows in the market. And this applies to almost every single time frame. And let me explain something really simple. Or no, let me explain something important really quickly, because a lot of you guys are going to get onto different time frames. You're going to get confused. And I saw this example earlier, so I figured it'd be really good to use. When we're looking at this right here, right? Here in this area, we can identify quite a good amount of highs and lows, and we're understanding, this makes sense. We have right here, we can identify a high. Perfect. We have another high right here. Okay, to point highs, point. And if you're unsure about it, make sure you have the magnet tool turned on. I'm going to be explaining things that people don't even fucking explain. So people get confused. Have this magnet. Can you guys see that on OBS? I don't know if you can see that. I think you can. Little magnet. Have the weak magnet on. So when you're using the horizontal ray that you can find right here, click this arrow. Oh, you can't see it, but where you have the crosshair on the top left of your thing, the one right under that, click the little arrow on the right, and then you can find horizontal ray, and you can favorite it or use it. But that's what we use to mark out highs and lows. At least I do. Anyway. So the reason why I want to explain this on different time frames is because we can mark out these highs and lows. But what do you do about this, Oliver? What is this? Because we have a down candle followed by a really big wick. So that means price had moved down here and came back up. So technically that means it's a high. Or fuck me. Technically that means it's a low. But then I don't really see an up candle followed by it. I don't really know what this is. Some of you guys, I was so confused about this like forever. Obviously, I'm not going to explain that on this because you don't really see it on the 4 hour that much. Anyway, don't get confused about that. If you're confused if it's up candle or down candle, you got to zoom the fuck up. Anyway, so evidently when we see that, it's a low. But then you're a little confused because I know it can get confusing looking at this. And it's like, well, do I use this low? Is this a valid low? If you're confused about a low with a big wick and a body that's extremely small, and you're just unsure about a zone like this and you don't know what the fuck you're looking at, scale down to the time frame. I'm going to write this down. If you don't know, scale down. Scale down time frames. Okay, if you don't know what that means because you're retarded, it means go down the time frames right to left. Anyway, so this looks a little fucking weird, but when we go down to the, say, 1 hour, oh my god, 1 hour, we zoom out, we go to that area, we can see, oh, that's a nice low we have going there. It's a lot nicer on the eyes, okay? Really important in trading. I see a lot of people, they explain concepts, they expect you to know this stuff, but they don't make stuff that's easy on the eyes, and that's probably the biggest thing that, they miss out, because when you're new to trading, the best thing that is like something you can look at, you can fucking understand it, and you can point it out. So I'm explaining this to you guys in a way that you can point it out and say, okay, I got it. Anyway, so look, scale down to the lower time frame. We see on the 1 hour, that's quite a nice low we have going there. We have a down candle followed by an up candle, and we look at these two candles, we see the lowest point of, whichever one has the lowest point, and we mark that out as our low. Perfect, got it. Same thing for the highs, highs and lows. It's an insanely simple concept. I'm not going to get too deep into it and what they do exactly right now, how we use them. All I need is for you guys to understand how to spot them and shit. So now trends, okay? We already defined trends, but let me just redefine it. Trends is the overall direction of the market. That's simple, and we can use these highs and lows to determine what kind of trend we're in. If we're in a bullish trend, meaning going up, or if we're in a bearish trend, meaning going down. So I think the 4 hour is a good place to sort of analyze this. And the way we can learn if a trend has sort of changed, okay, because when people think of like general investing, and you think of investing into, the NASDAQ, the S&P indexes, the shit like that, shit that technically should always be going up. When you think of that, it is all subjected around highs and lows and the trend of the market. And we can see that on lower time frames as well. But the way we can identify if a trend has flipped, if the trend has switched to bullish, from bullish to bearish, or bearish to bullish, and trade that, the way we can identify is through, we can see these shifts from higher highs to lower lows. Okay, that doesn't make any sense right now what I just said, so let me explain it. Boom. Let's see this. We have this, we make a high, then we make a low, then a higher high, then a higher low, buff. Okay, this is what we call an uptrend. Why is this an uptrend? Because we're forming a high, and then we form a low. Okay, and how do we know that this is an uptrend? Okay, how do we know that it's not going to become a downtrend? Because once we made this low, we didn't go back down below what started the trend. So we form the low, and after the low, we start to push back up, and we push above this high, and then we form a high, we form another high by forming, that low. I know it's confusing. It doesn't make much sense. To me, it makes sense, but it's just going to take a little bit of understanding to know what I'm saying. I'm trying to explain as simple as possible. We have a high followed by a low, and the low did not go below what started, that push up. So once we form this low, we go up. We form a higher high. Understand that? A higher high. Does that make sense? Yes, it makes sense. Listen, why? Because here we have a high. So what would this be? This is also a high, but it's a higher high, okay? Because it went higher, it formed higher than the next one, okay? So if this is a low, what would this be? A higher low. And right at that moment, you can understand and be like, oh, okay, well, we're in an uptrend right now. Why? Because we're not making lower lows and we're not making lower highs. Now, how do I explain that? How do I explain this downtrend? Well, we see here, we're moving. I'm not going to continue this. We'll forget that. We'll do this. This, buff, 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 buff. What are we looking at here? Here, let's mark this. Let's mark our things that we have a low followed by a high. Okay? Regular shit. What happens next? We form another low. But that low is a lower low. How do we know it's a lower low? Because it formed below the previous one. Okay? We have a low, high, a lower low, making this high a higher high. And the way we can obviously, that signals a downtrend. And we know this because it continues to do that. It continues to go, makes a higher high, makes a lower high, then a lower low, then a lower high, then a lower low, and so on and so on and so on. And like I said, this is what we use to be able to determine the trend/direction of the market. Now it does change. The trend of the market does change quite a lot, especially when you start getting to those lower time frames. You're going to be seeing, trends changing insanely. So that's why I'm going to head over to a higher time frame so we can explain this quite better. I think the daily is probably the best sort of time frame we can explain this on. Gosh, I don't even know how to fucking go over this bullshit because this is so ugly. Anyways, let's see. Fuck, I don't know how to explain this on, not explain it, but how to point this out. Maybe maybe 4 hours, probably 1 hour is going to be better. Oh shit, 1 hour time frame is going to be better. So let's see. When we scale out on this, let's just scale out. What do we see here? What would you say this is? What would you say this section here is? This would it be uptrend? Correct. How do we know it's an uptrend? Why? Well, if we zoom in a little bit, If we zoom in a little bit, we can see that we have a low followed by a high, followed by a low, followed by what? You guessed it, a higher high. Followed by what? Followed by, well, we just continued that high, obviously, but it's just for the purpose of marking it out. Let me mark out a different one, actually makes sense for the trend. So, followed by what? Followed by a high. Followed by what? A higher low. Followed by what? A higher high. Followed by, and we can see, it's smaller movements, but we can see that this is obviously, high, buff, then we formed a higher low. But then, well, actually, we're still technically in a, bullish trend, but that's easy to mark it out. So now we understand what it means to look for a bullish trend because it's going up. Why? Because we're all these lines that I'm deleting, we identified highs and lows in this. Now, what about this? Ooh, nice circle we got going there. What about this? How do we know? Well, this is a downtrend. Obviously, Oliver, how the fuck do we know? Why? Because we have a high. I'm going to mark this one out. It's easier. High, followed by, well, let's see if we can continue down, followed by sort of a low, followed by a low right here, followed by a high, followed by a low, followed by a lower high, followed by a lower low, followed by a lower high, followed by a lower low, continuing all that all the way down until we get to this low right here. And how did we know that the trend flipped on us completely here? How did we know? Okay. Why? Because we can see perfectly that right after we formed this low, we started forming higher high. Oh no, we formed a high, then we formed higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. And that's how we identify trends. It's that simple, okay? And obviously, we're looking a little bit of chop here, but we can see it on a time frame. We can see, bro, this is an uptrend right here. How do we know this is an uptrend? Because we have a low, high. In here, on all different time frames, there's tons of highs, tons of lows we can use to identify. But like I said, I'm just trying to keep this simple for you to understand. We have a low, followed by high, low, high. Oh, sorry, let me say. Low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. And eventually until we start to form high, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, and then it switches again, higher low, That's how the market moves, through trends. Okay, that's not what moves it, in my opinion, but it's what we use to identify thy direction. Wow, the direction. And we can see this on all different time frames. Now, don't get yourself too overly in your ass. Don't get yourself too overly confused when you start to look at the lower time frames and you're like, whoa, there's a bunch of shit going on. Because see, this is overall uptrend, but then what do we do if we scale in? Here we can see on the 1 minute we have, well, technically this was a low followed by a high followed by a higher low, but then we did this, made a higher high. Obviously the lower time frame is going to have a lot more noise, a lot more bullshit going on, because, well, it's a lower time. It's printing candles a lot more. You wouldn't really see this on the higher time frames. It wouldn't be as confusing. So don't get yourself too confused. For this video, for the sake of this video, all I want you to do is stick to a higher time frame. This is your 2 objectives after watching today's video and understanding this. First thing I want you to do is regarding highs and lows. I want you to go on the 4-hour time frame, 1 hour. Honestly, any time frame is good for highs and lows, for marking them out. Sit for 15 minutes, go across all different time frames, and start marking out highs and lows. I want you to see green candle, down, up candle, down candle, highest point of the 2 candles, mark it out with the horizontal rate, boom. Next thing, already see the high, or what? Let's see what form next. Just keep marking it out, get super familiar with it before moving on to the next thing. Once you've done that, you can start identifying trends. I would stick to a higher time frame this. Don't get yourself overly confused for the lower time frame. I promise you, if you're confused about something, it's gonna clear up. It just takes time, okay? My next video is I'm probably just going to be talking to you guys about that, just talking to you face on, a bunch of important about patience and all that stuff. So it's super important that you listen to me when I say this. Take it slow and listen to me, and don't get ahead of yourself. Don't go watching another trading video about some don't go watching 10 more trading videos about highs and lows, because those people are probably going to say something that I didn't say or explain it differently. Then you're going to get confused. Then you're going to lose all the progress you've made. Take it fucking slow, okay? Listen to me. Now, for trends, like I said, stick to the higher time frame, preferably like a 1 hour, 4 hour, daily, weekly. Nothing really below the 30 minute, I would say. And just start identifying trends. So you start identifying. It's going to probably take a little bit more practice to get good at identifying them. As soon as we, before you start identifying the highs and the lows, it's probably going to take a little bit more time than that. But keep it straightforward. Identify. Be like, oh, okay, so let's see. How do I know? You can see with our eyes that it's going down, but how do we know exactly what is physically telling us that it's a downtrend? Because we have a high, lower high. We have a high, low, lower high, lower low, chopped a little bit. Then we see, okay, where we continue that downtrend high. But how do we know? Because we have a high, low, higher low, lower low. Okay, well, we flipped it. Why? Because we have a low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, buff. It's a lot. Okay, I know it's a lot to take in. I know. Okay, never mind. That was weird. Anyway, I know it's a lot to understand. I know it's a lot to comprehend to be able to apply it to yourself. But keep it simple. If you really want to dumb it down, just head over to the weekly time frame. Don't worry about this bullshit right here. Just skip that. Skip everything from like last September. That's bullshit. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Like I said, I'm not trying to make these videos too insanely long, too overly long for no reason. I'm trying to keep it simple. Make sure you have your notes on for what a high is, what a low is, how to identify them, what trends are, how to identify an uptrend, how to identify a downtrend, and understand that these are important things that we are going to apply them, later into this series. Like I said, you guys are going to be learning a handful of concepts. I'm going to be showing you me trading, and then I'm going to be helping you guys develop your trading, so you can finally sit on the charts and know what the fuck you're looking at and make a conscious decision, because that's what I wish that I was able to do a lot earlier. That's why I made this series, so you guys can fucking understand it a lot quicker than I did and make fucking money in these markets. So without further ado, that is going to wrap it up. That's the end of this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Stay disciplined. Peace.